Published by Enix and released in 1989, Dragon Warrior is best approached with the context of its release date firmly in mind. Otherwise, as modern gamers, it's difficult to appreciate the game and its importance to the RPG genre of the time. Your quest takes place in the monster-infested Alefgard, and you are tasked with finding and defeating the evil Dragon Lord and his minions, and of course, rescue the princess. Save your sighs. It may be difficult to comprehend, with thanks to our favourite mushroom-ingesting plumber, but saving the world by killing the baddie and rescuing the princess wasn't always a cliché. These clichés just didn't exist. Although computer-based RPGs, such as Rogue, had existed since the mid-70s on university mainframe computers, the genre was still incredibly young. The general public eventually gained access to the RPG genre on microcomputers, with games such as Dungeons & Dragons and the Calibeth World of Doom, both released in 1980 as some of the first RPGs for this format. Between the release of these games and Dragon Warrior came two hugely influential games that undoubtedly played a part in its development: Wizardry and Ultima. Both were integral in the ideas of an overworld map and dungeon crawling, those ideas we take for granted in modern games, and Dragon Warrior heavily borrows from these titles. Dragon Warrior is seen as important to the genre for two reasons, the first being its simplicity and accessibility. Many RPGs of the time had a relatively large number of keyboard shortcuts that needed to be committed to memory to make any sort of progress at all. Dragon Warrior did away with all this, providing a menu-based user interface controlled by the NES controller. A 4-directional D-pad and 2 buttons was all you had, much less than the 20+ hotkeys in other RPGs. This was attractive to those who had been previously intimidated by the genre, and certainly helped to secure its success. The second reason Dragon Warrior is held in high regard is it is largely credited with establishing the template of almost all console RPGs that followed it. Without Dragon Warrior, it is entirely possible that there would be no turn-based combat in RPGs. Say goodbye to every single popular JRPG ever made. But having played these modern JRPGs, it's hard to enjoy the gameplay of Dragon Warrior at all. After being set on your quest by the king, you're given hints that a village to the east can provide you with equipment for your adventure. You're provided with enough gold to purchase some basic equipment, and then set off on your way, only to find walking half a screen away from the castle can easily land you 6 feet under. You're not actually restricted in where you can wander, but death tends to be a fairly effective deterrent from straying too far, without first gaining some experience levels and purchasing better equipment. This in itself is fine. Personally, I see it as an obvious and artificial way to extend the playtime of a game, but it's the mechanics behind this that make it a struggle to enjoy. At the beginning of the game, I purchased the bamboo staff and leather armour, and found them to be lacking, so decided to save up and buy a club for 60 gold. The monsters you fight for the first hour or so give you 1 XP each and about 1 or 2 gold, so that's already 30 encounters at best to buy a club. Then take into account the fact that you will need to rest, and that's about 6 GP a time, and on average a monster will take 3 hits to kill and deal you about 5 damage in a combat. Grind is the name of the game. Also, once I purchased it, I realised that the club is a bit shit. But at least once you've bought it, you can move a bit further away from the castle to fight slightly harder enemies for marginally more reward. In the few hours I've played, it hasn't really deviated from this long, drawn-out rinse-repeat formula. Maybe the game improves with time, but I really can't see myself pushing through the grind to get there. My advice is to understand the importance of Dragon Warrior to the RPG genre. Maybe even play it a little out of curiosity. But in reality, it's not really worth your time. Dragon Warrior deserves recognition for its influence on the genre, but it couldn't be further from being its pinnacle. Thanks for watching this retro review, guys. This has been Westloar. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. Over and out.